Have you ever struggled with complex if statements in Python? Well, in this video, we'll learn how to combine logical and comparison operators to make our if conditions more concise. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, before we get started, make sure to check out our previous video where we covered the basics of if statements in Python. Once you're up to speed, we can dive into the more advanced techniques for handling complex conditions. Alright, so before we dive in, I would like you to do a simple exercise where you compare two numbers and print hello world in the console. It should also include an else statement that acts as a default case. So I would encourage you to pause the video and give that a go. Great, so let's see how you did. I'll provide one way you could have done this. So I said to compare two numbers. So I'll do 10 is greater than 8. If so, print hello world. And then we'll do an else. And I'll just say that this is a default case. So let's run this. And we get hello world. And for example, if we do 10 is less than 8, then we'll go to the default case. And by now you should understand why this if statement works the way it does. And if it doesn't make sense, just watch that video, the previous video where we learned about if statements. Okay, so the first combination we'll be taking a look at is the logical operators and, or. So let's just set up a simple variable, number is equal to 25. And let's see if number is within the range of 10 to 20. Or number is equal to 25. If so, print number is within the range of 10 to 20, or it is exactly 25. And then we'll also have an else. So else print number is outside the specified range and is not 25. So let's clear the console and run this. So it says numbers within the range of 10 to 20, or it is exactly 25. So this might seem like a big if statement, but we can break it down into little chunks. So if you remember what or was, we can say or is like, it just needs one of the statements to be true. So if I have an if and one side returns true and the other side returns false, well then or will return true because it just needs one of these conditions to be true. And on the other hand, is a bit different because it needs both of these conditions to be true for and to return true. So it needs to be like this. So that was just a little recap of what and or was, in case you forgot. And for the first piece we're comparing is number in between 10 to 20. So what this is really saying is 10 less than or equal to number, and is number less than or equal to 20. So let's see what this does. It should return the same exact thing because we're basically combining and making this one more concise piece of code. But this is basically the same exact thing as adding an and in the middle. So if it helps, you can add the and to make it easier to understand. Okay, so let's compare number now. Number is 25. Is 25 greater than or equal to 10? That's true. Is it less than or equal to 20 though? That's false. So this piece will return false. So false, or is our other logical operator here, or is number equal to 25? Well, 25 is equal to 25, so that will return true. So since we have or will return true, and therefore this print statement is run. Now, if we plug in some different numbers, and if we do, for example, 8, we should get the else, because 8 is in between 10 and 20, nor is it equal to 25. So both of these are false, and therefore we just go to the default case, which is the else. Alright, so for this next and final example, we'll be combining and, or, and not. So what we want to do first is set up a variable number equal to 8, and then we'll have the following logic. Alright, so now we're going to split up this if statement conditional into some pieces so that we can understand what is really going on. So wherever you see a number in your head, we can just replace it for the value 8. So to start off, and can be acting as if it's the middle piece of comparing this statement to the right and this statement to the left. So for this first statement, on the left, we'll have the or, and is 8 less than 5? That's false. And is 8 greater than 15? That's also false. So or right now is equal to false. Now, since or returns false, and we have the and logical operator in the middle, we can assume now that Python will skip over this because this whole condition will return false. Because as we said before, and needs a true and true for it to equal true. If even one of them is equal to false, then the final result will also be false. So what Python will do is we can assume that it will skip over this if statement and jump right to the else. So let's run this and see what happens. And our assumption was correct. As you can see, this string is printed out into the console. So let's continue on with where we left off. So we have false and this not logic operator. So let's break this up again. This is just comparing 8 and seeing if it's in the range of 5 to 15. So indeed this is true, but now we'll inverse it and make it false. So on both sides we have false, either way. And that's why Python just jumps directly to the default case. So, and again, if it helps, we can split this up and make it and number like that. So now we have to try to find a value that will work in place of 8. So we have 8 right here. Now we need to find a value. So I would encourage you to try to play out and test out with some numbers to see which value works. Alright, so I found a value, 16, and that seems to work. And let's run. Let's delete this. And we get the string printed out. So let's start looking through each condition to see how it works. So is 16 less than 5? That's false. But is it greater than 15? That's true. So or is equal to true right now. So we have a true and. Is 16 between 5 and 15? Well, let's see. Okay. Is 16 greater than 5? That's true. Is it less than or equal to 15? That's false. So this piece here returns false. But Not will inverse it and make it true. So we have true and true on both sides, and therefore this print statement is printed out into the console. Therefore, this string is printed out to the console. In this video, you've learned about the three logical operators and, or, and not, and how we can use them together in different cases. In the next video, we'll learn how to get user input and build a simple authentication system in the console. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated. And I'll see you in the next one.